Welcome to episode 1 of the Hooks Lincoln podcast. It's a podcast that puts you in the driver's seat of 4 generations of car selling stories, Southern charm, and the heart behind Hooks Lincoln. I'm your host, Sean Rains, and I'm always joined by Kip Hooks, proud Fort Worth native, TCU Horned Frog, baseball enthusiast, and third-generation owner of a dealership where they still believe in handshakes, honest talk, and treating people like family. This is where we pull back the curtain on how and why Hooks does business the way they do it, and it's different. From unforgettable customer stories to behind-the-scenes moments at the dealership, from shout-outs to our amazing team and the most adorable team member, Piper, to deep dives into the values that keep us grounded, every episode is a ride through tradition, service, and trust, never escaping our deep appreciation for grace. Whether you're a car buyer, another dealer, or just someone who appreciates a good story, you're in the right place. Buckle up. Let's roll. Kip, how are you today?
I'm great, Sean. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking
Good.
forward to getting this kicked off with your brand new podcast. And I do want to say, I think it's really important that we'll kind of start at the beginning. And I want to ask you, what makes Hooks Lincoln different from other car dealerships? You've been a dealer a long time. What do you think makes you guys different?
You know, that's a big question that could be multiple answers, but in a nutshell, we're family. I'm the third generation. We have our fourth generation coming on board. We are everything we do, we operate with grace. You know, like my father's always said, we're in the people business. We just happen to sell and service cars. We try to do things differently, and it's whether it's niche or if it's just who we are. That's what we try to do. We try to make things a little bit different from like a boutique style of an experience where it's more personalized, and we don't worry about having 100 people on the floor at the same time. You know, we're here to take care of one person at a time, and that's our job. We figure out how to do it really good one time and just keep repeating that. That's the main goal. You know, something we always have to keep in mind is that we are very much a want dealership. We're not a need dealership. People don't come here because they need something. They come here because they want something. They want something that we have, or they want to do business with us. And that's a huge honor and a huge compliment to myself, my family, our entire team. So, you know, I'd say things like that make us different. We're car dealers are there's a ton of us out there, and it's hard sometimes to distinguish yourself from others, but we do that through our people first, by getting the right people, and with our processes, our procedures, our beliefs, you know, the core tenets of what we believe in. That's kind of what makes us a little different.
I love the distinction between want and need as a dealership. I don't think I've heard that before. And I think that's probably a refreshing perspective for a whole lot more people than just myself. Clearly, that is something that makes you guys different. Can you explain the foundational philosophy, if you will, behind your decision making?
Absolutely. So it's pretty simple, and it's something that is repeated ad nauseum. But everything we do falls under the standard of BIHL, best interest of Hooks Lincoln. Well, what's the best interest of Hooks Lincoln? Client satisfaction. Our client experience is number one, because that will drive everything. Repeat business, that is what it's all about, is making sure that the client has a great experience. But it has to be overall good for the business, for the operation. You know, if it's something that's only in Kip's best interest, but not the best interest of the store, then we don't do it. If it's in any one particular person's best interest, but not in the best interest of the others, then it's not a consideration. So whether it's a procedure, whether it's a process, where it's how we pick up and deliver cars, whatever it is, that is the number one standard that it goes through, is the best interest of Hooks Lincoln. And once we establish that that's the case, then we move on to the, getting into it, so to speak. But That's the number one standard is the best interest of Hooks Lincoln, which the top of that is the best interest of our clients.
That's excellent. I think there are way too many dealerships that don't really have a North Star like that. And, a lot of people talk about, having a mission statement and core values, but they're almost just slogans that they maybe throw up on the wall. And what you're talking about is something that is not just known, but it's felt in how you guys act internally, which just seems like a really great way to calibrate your team and build culture around this is why we do what we do. And a lot of people talk about how important the why is behind the business. And I think
It,
that sums it up pretty
it really is. I
concisely
mean,
for you guys.
and that transcends generations, and it's not something that we are actively saying, oh, let's do this and this and this. It's just the core belief that, you know, my kids have, that I got from my father, my brother got, that we got from our granddad. It's just kind of the way that it was established and what we continue to believe in. We're continuing a legacy. And with that comes it's a tremendous honor and opportunity, but it's a lot of responsibility. And, we don't want to do anything to tarnish the legacy, to do anything that's outside of what got us here. And what got us here is taking care of clients, and those clients have helped us. And that's where grace comes in, because we're incredibly grateful and humbled and appreciative and honored that we have had the opportunity to be in business for nearly 45 years with Lincoln now, and the family for over 70.
Mm.
So, it's a great honor, and we are very grateful.
It's also a really good segue for I wanted to ask you a little bit about, get some of your thoughts on the customer experience. Let me start by just asking you about the prioritization. Like, how do you prioritize that customer experience at Hooks Lincoln?
Well, you know, like I said, the client experience, the customer experience is our number one threshold, because that's what drives everything. And we do whatever it takes. And we've got stories after stories that of examples of what we have done, what someone in the family has done, what someone on the team has done to go out of their way to be sure that we're taking care of a client and getting them what they need and what they want. I use the need and want. We are a want dealership, but our clients have needs, and we need to fill those needs, and to the highest degree of luxury, if you will. And when you talk about luxury, luxury is defined. It's a very personal definition. What's luxury to me may not be for some other people, and what their luxury is may not be mine. But the one common thread that I find in luxury is time. And time is the one luxury that we all have the same amount of. And when we look at things like that, we don't want somebody coming in to buy a car. You hear horror stories about taking all day to buy a car. I was there for 4 or 5 hours just to buy a car. I mean, you can come in and buy a car here and be gone in 30 minutes or so. And then come in, pick one out. We go through everything, get it all done. We're not here to take your time. We're here to take care of you. And if that means scheduling a comeback to re-go over the car, we do that. But we notice that when we give that, hey, we can have you out of here this quick, generally people want to hold on and know more and talk more. And that's, you know, that that's a real nice thing, because we have honored them, acknowledged them, and they want to stay around us more to learn a little more. And we're always available, but we try to take care of their time. It's a very it's a very complex business. And buying a car is a big transaction, and it's a complex transaction that requires a lot of forms and all this other stuff and steps and all that. But we do our best to simplify it as best we can. So we can't make it easy, but we can simplify it to the point where it makes more sense. It's more realistic. It's rational. It's a logical process of, oh, okay, that's what we're doing here. That's what we do there. It's transparent. We're not hiding the ball. We're forthright with everything we're talking about. It's just all about taking care of our clients and with integrity, with honesty, with grace and appreciation, really.
Yeah, I think that everyone that's ever bought a car could appreciate a dealership that makes it transparent, that makes it make sense. Um, there is a lot of complexity to the transactions that happen, from your business, but there is a way also to make sure that the experience that is provided to the customers who are in that and part of that complexity kind of come out the other side thinking, okay, maybe I learned a little bit more. And I think that you doing a podcast is actually an example of that, of like, let's talk about some of the things that maybe have felt like they're myths or they're riddles or codes that the average potential customer or existing customers never really understood prior. And so I think that's really important. I'm curious to know your thoughts on like the values that define how your team just does business day to day.
That's a good question because, the day to day can be monotonous, but you have to find the sunshine in each day, if you will, and your purpose and be intentional. And so, character is really paramount to everything we do. And that's what I look for first. When we're bringing people on board as a team, I'm looking at their character, not necessarily their experience or what they've done or how they know what to do. I'm looking at their character and how they've been tried and tested and how they withstood that. And, when's a problem? What is it, something that you've dealt with that was an issue? And, that's when character comes through. That and being a good teammate. There's no one person around here that does it all. I've done every job in this dealership. I can't do them all at the same time. We have to have a team, and being a good teammate is tops. You take care of the person next to you and the people that are on your team, and that's how you win, and that's how we do better. Um, we being leaders, we try to make sure that all of our staff are problem solvers. It's necessary for me and for my managers that we are always problem solvers. There's always something to figure out, whether it's for a client or how something's going on or figuring out, something in the shop. There's always things that we have to figure out and solve. So we want everybody to be a problem solver every day. If a client comes in, I don't want them to have to go to 3 or 4 different people to figure out, oh, what are we going to do to take care of them? Be a problem solver. Take care of people. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we want to do. By solving those problems, doing those things, and having that mindset, then in order to do that, you have to focus on what the issue is. Well, by doing that, you have to listen, and we have to listen first. And when we listen, we learn. And when we learn what the issue is, then we can help solve the problem. And whether we just talk through it or we come up with some great idea, it all starts with listening, and that's kind of how we go about it. We have to be good listeners. We have to act with integrity and honesty. We have to be grateful and great and act with grace in order to solve people's problems, in order to earn the trust, to have the opportunity to help a client solve an issue, whether that's an internal problem or an external problem.
Mm. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I really like the fact that, you're not afraid to tell people openly that things like character mean more to you than like just selling more Lincolns, that, you know, being good teammates and working together, that all of those things matter because you're ultimately at the end of the day driven by this passion to provide a great experience for customers. When you do that, when you kind of hit the bullseye on that, so many of these other things take care of themselves and make things operate and smoothly, and continues to offer up more opportunities when you're doing that one thing. But it's not waving a magic wand. It's literally having people with good character, teaching them to be good teammates, all of that I think is extremely important. And I've heard you say do the same things differently. What does that mean in practice?
Well, it could mean a lot of things, but like I was saying earlier, a lot of the things when you buy a car, there's a lot of similarities, regardless of what you buy or where you buy it. We try to do things, we try to make those processes different. We try to be different in as many aspects as we can, because that's our opportunity to elevate ourselves and for the character of our team to shine through when we get the opportunity to be seen away from that stuff. So whether, we have the way our uh, sales operation, we talked about years ago, going through how we wanted this to be. And it was a moonshot, if you will. And we started with, okay, what's the car buying experience like? Well, here's your emotional scale. And you got, oh no, I have to buy a car. No, I'm excited to buy a car. I go see a car. I like the car. I drive the car. Now I have to negotiate. Now you're down back in the bad area. And now I feel like I got a better deal. I feel like this is good. Now I got to go in this F&I office. And then somehow we want to believe at the very highest point on the emotional scale when they take their new car. Well, we looked at these troughs, if you will, and we're like, how do we get rid of those to do things differently? And instead of having the up and down, we wanted to get better at every step of the way. So we do hit that pinnacle at the end when they leave in their new car, and that's their happiest, and they're going home in their brand new vehicle and they're loving their Lincoln and all that good stuff. So, we don't have a finance office. We don't have an F&I manager. We are a single point of contact. Our people, our product specialists go through from the phone call or the lead or the email or the text, whatever it is, that initial response, that initial contact, all the way through delivery and follow up. That's the one person you deal with. And we find that makes things, that builds trust, it establishes relationships. You know who to call. You've got your person, and and it also cuts down a lot of the time in that whole process. So when we talk about doing things differently, we look at things from that perspective. And when we start coaching, there's a lot of sports metaphors and sports thoughts that come into play. And from coaching my kids to playing sports to whatever it is, when I would coach the kids, I would tell them that I can coach something, I can't coach nothing. So do something and we'll figure it out. If you're going in the wrong direction, I'll show you why the right direction is this way. And sometimes they teach me, but and that's the thing, we're all open-minded. I think I'm right sitting in a room, but hey, if somebody can prove to me that there's a better way, I am all ears. So anyway, when we look at wins and losses, or how we take those things in stride, and you know bad things are not, you're going to have bad days, they just happen. And it's, how do you take them? You gonna let them ruin the week, or are you going to take it in stride and try to turn this day around and get better every step? So that's kind of the way we go about things. We talk about, there was a lot of in the COVID era, when people were doing, there were charging premiums for certain vehicles, and we didn't do that. We're in it for the long haul. We didn't want to get a short-term gain, and nothing against those who did. It didn't make sense for us in our world and the way we do business. And so we're in it for the long haul. We're not in it for a short-term gain. And we made conscious decisions to change our business practices then to accommodate what was in the best interest of Hooks Lincoln, which was our clients, our team, the organization, the family. We had to turn on a dime, and because we believe the way we believe and we're problem solvers, we were able to adjust and shift. And we're glad that we got through all of that, but still not real sure what the new norm is. I don't know if anybody does, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
I don't know what the new norm is, so don't feel bad. I think you're right. I'm not sure anybody does. You mentioned sports And I don't think that, well, this audience, not all of them are going to know about your background, your passion for sports. Um, Tell us a little bit about how that background, that sports background, influences how you lead your team.
Uh, you know, first off, they're my team, and that's where we look at it from a team perspective, a teammate perspective. I grew up playing sports. My kids played sports. I coach sports. I coach my kids. I've been involved with countless sports organizations, from soccer to baseball to football at TCU. We are very tied in with TCU athletics. I play golf all the time, big golfer. It's just in everything we do, whether it's team sports or athletic or individual sports, those mentalities, those lessons, those perspectives translate so seamlessly into business, because we are coaches. It's our job to be leaders and coaches to help influence and motivate our team to do their best, to perform at their best. And like I always told my kids and all the kids I coach, that you win games at practice. Now, how does that translate to this business? We need to be prepared. That's saying to be prepared, and be prepared for your client, whether they're coming in for service or for sales or whatever. Try to be as prepared as you can, because you don't want to be trying to make changes while you're in the game. When you're on, you're not going back and trying to figure things out. You've done that ahead of time. So, it's from things like that, win games at practice, and being prepared to the setbacks, to the wins. You cherish the wins and you celebrate the wins, but uh, you they don't mean as much without the losses. If it was a win every day, that'd be great, but at the same time, you don't know how great it is until you feel what a loss feels like. And whether that means losing a client, and it happens, we don't like it, it just happens. At the end of the day, it's what is best for that client. I mean, I don't want a client coming and buying a car from me who's going to throw rocks at it and curse my name every time they go to get in and start it. I want them to be happy. I hope that they're happy with the Lincoln, and I hope it comes from here. But and we'll do everything we can for that. But ultimately, it's that the client needs to be happy. So anyway, I kind of diverted there, but
No, it's
uh,
fine. Trying to get a team, like all rowing in the same direction. There's, a lot of examples that, you could look at. I reference Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, oftentimes because he uses the analogy of the bus, of having the right people on the bus in the right seats, all agreed that you're going in the right direction together, how those things are important. And I think your sports background, your coaching background, I think that's a perfect framework for understanding teamwork and getting, kind of the coach player dynamic, the player to player dynamic, the teammate dynamic. How do you, when you think about all that, how do you ensure, because it isn't easy to actually do this, to ensure that the team both embodies the values that you've laid out so they can kind of execute against them? How do you do that?
well, it starts when they come on board and when we're hiring people. And, you know, I take hiring very, very seriously. It's one of the most serious things I do, because when I hire somebody, I expect them to be here forever, but I want them to be happy. They need to be happy. They need to be happy for themselves. But if they're not happy, how well are they going to take care of our clients? So it needs to be a good fit. So, I mean, it starts there. And I'm very forthright and open, and so is everyone here who hires people, about who we are and the way we do things. And we're family, and it's very client centric. And, it's from there, it comes back to coaching and inspiring and motivating, and teaching someone the best way. You start with listening, and you do this, and then giving them all the tools, and watching them take care of a client and the satisfaction that they have. That is like a coach watching their their team go win a game. When they can take care of a client and that client is happy and satisfied and tells me how great of an experience it was, that that's hard to replicate. That's hard to replace, because it is a genuinely good feeling. And once you get that, you want more of that. And so you don't want anyone creating problems that you have to solve, but you want to help take care of people. So, when you look at how we go about solving those problems, again, it starts with listening, and that's the kind of the cornerstone to earning trust. And when you develop trust between two people, then you get more information, and that information is used not maliciously, it's used intentionally to help. What's the issue? And it could be something far as, well, my car is making a noise. Well, is it making, what kind of noise is it making? When does it make it? We have to dig a little deeper and then listen to what they say. It's making a ping noise, and it only does it when I'm driving 120 miles an hour and making a left turn. Well, okay, then we can kind of dial it in on, there we go. But that starts with listening, which establishes trust, and that establishes the foundation of solving a problem. Pardon me, and developing that trust, and that builds relationships. And we're here because of relationships. We're here because my granddad built relationships, my father built relationships, my brother and I have built relationships. I build relationships here. My kids are building them. Our team builds them, and that's just part of life, and it's really great. It's really great, and that's why I said at the initial onset that we're in the people business. We happen to sell and service cars.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, you led me into the next thing I wanted to ask you about. Actually, it's perfect, is because you talk about this a lot, is trust and relationships. These long-term relationships matter more than most every other element of the business. It's like having these people that have done, and for people that watch or listen to this, go look at Hooks Lincoln's Google business profile and all of the reviews of people who say the most amazing things about their experience there. Most people are really very quick to actually write a review when it doesn't go great. But when you're writing reviews just to say, this was awesome, this was great, especially when you're writing that about a car dealership, you're doing something right. But I digress. Back to trust.
well, yeah.
Why is trust it's a major theme for Hooks Lincoln in the way you do business? Well, why is that the case?
Well, because it's like I said, it's not a short-term thing. It's a long-term goal. We're building long-term relationships, and we want to take care of people every time they need something. I have a client who, has never ever bought a car from anyone but me. Now we grew up together, but Reagan Wynn has bought every car he's ever purchased for him and his family from me. And I mean, that's a big honor, and I'm grateful for that. So when we talk about building those relationships, we talk about how things, buying a car yes, it ends. It's part of it. There's a transaction that takes place, but we try not to make it transactional. It's an experience, and that's part of the experience, but it's not like, oh, we got to do this part. I mean, we have to do that, but it's part of it. We're open and transparent about it, and here's what we're doing. Here's what come next. And you know, when we do those things, and people have a great experience, and on the experience thing, on people giving reviews, if we don't do a great job, I want that review too, because those are the ones where I learn. That's how we get better, because we're not perfect, far from it. But when we hear the opportunities of, well, we could have done this better. Well, let's go. That's something we need to dial in on and figure out if is it one time, or is this a perpetual issue that we need to address? Either way, that needs to be fixed. So we want to hear from everybody on how it went. You know, it's important it's as important as it is to take care of everybody and have a great experience. It's important on how you respond to when you don't. And that's a big piece of the way we get better is how do we respond when we make a mistake? And we try to do, I put myself in the client's shoes. What would I want? What would make me happy? How would I be satisfied? Or how would I feel like, they care about me and they want to take care of me and they want me to come back? And I'm real honest with our team when we do something that, you know, we miss everyone, we whiff every once in a while. And I'll tell them, you know, if I was that client and this is my dealership, I wouldn't be calling you back. That's an eye opener for me. And I think it is for my team too. When I'm like, yeah, I'm on your side. I will run through walls for our team if they're doing what's in the best interest of Hooks Lincoln. If they can articulate to me why they're doing something for a client or for the dealership, I got their back no matter what. If we need to adjust after the fact, we will. But let's go because I want them to be empowered. That's what builds those relationships. That's because myself, my family, we have long-term relationships with clients from decades ago. Those still hold true. And we're building more relationships every day, but I also want my team to build those relationships. I want them to be fulfilled in life, in their role, in their job, and what they're doing here. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to be passionate about what they're doing because then they take better care of our clients. And I know I keep hammering that, but that's the foundation of what we do. So
I think it's important, and I'm going to give you a couple seconds, although you'll probably just have a flood of thoughts when I ask you this, but I want you to share a story, like a real life example. A team member went above and beyond, or customer who became like that repeat buyer. You just mentioned one. Maybe that's the story a little bit more on, but a story that illustrates what you're talking about, how you're basically putting customers first. I know these, but I think it's going to be important on the podcast to share stories like this, probably on every single show. Like just a story, could be an old story, could be one that's over generations. I don't really care. I just would love to hear just one of many of the, countless stories in that bag of history from Hooks Lincoln, where you guys were putting the customer first and it turned into these long-term relationships.
man, you got that right. There's a flood of stories come to mind, whether it's me, my father, my grandfather, my brother, my kids. You know, I've watched my son Cade. We had a gentleman who had slipped and fell in the service department and was bleeding, and it was scary, and we were all rushed to help him, and he was right there by him. And that's kind of not really the story that speaks to it, but it just speaks to the generations that we've all want to be there for people. I was going to hit golf balls one night years ago, and I don't know why this one just popped in my head. This has been years ago, and I was going to hit some golf balls, and I walk in and I'm waiting, to kind of check in, and I hear this lady talking about, can I get online? I need to find, my phone's dead. I need to find the number for this dealership where we got my car so I can get them to pick it up. It's making a weird noise. I don't feel good about it, blah, 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 so forth, so on. And then I overheard my last name. Did I hear that? And I said, pardon me, are you trying to get to Hooks? Yes, we bought this car at Hooks Lincoln, and I don't want anybody else touching our car. We wanted to get it there. And I was like, well, I'm Kip Hooks, and let's take care of this right now. So I called a tow truck. I got their stuff out of their car with them, put it in mine, and drove them home, which was about 45 minutes away. Drove them home, and the next day sent them a loaner. And they were really, really happy with me for that. And that's all I knew to do. I mean, who's going to do anything differently in that predicament, in that situation? I can't imagine doing anything differently than what I did. I mean, it just makes sense to me, but maybe that's the way my brain thinks. But You know, it's things like that. It's going above and beyond, out of the way, and doing things that people don't expect or what aren't the norm for people to typically do. And when you do something outside of the norm that benefits them and makes them happy, then that sticks. I always tell people, it's never hard to get people to talk about a car buying experience or their car servicing experience. I always want to be the best story in the room. You know, if
Yeah.
I don't want anybody cussing their car dealer, because that means somebody's unsatisfied. But I want people to say, well, if you think that was good, you should try Hooks. You should go talk to them, and that means we're doing a good job, and
Mhm.
that's the point. So I don't know, Sean, I could go on and on with stories, and I've got so many coming in my head right now. It's almost
Save
confusing
them.
me on
Save
what to
them. We
say.
will have
So
plenty of opportunities to jump into and pull out a story on every single episode. I think it'll be a great feature. I think people will want to hear. I think it will inspire other dealers. I think that even just that one you shared is also, I think it speaks to the generational value of knowledge passed down from your grandfather to your father to yourself and how you guys do business. That to me sounds like a value that comes from the very beginning and it's passed down. And I think it matters. The last thing I want to ask you today, and at least on today's episode, is the car business, this industry usually rewards shortcuts. So why do you choose to do business the way you do at Hooks?
you know, uh, because of my family, because of my kids, because of my grandfather, because of my father, because it's the right thing to do, because it's my character, because building that, it's a long-term thing. It's my life. It's my legacy. I'm carrying on the legacy of the generations before me, my grandfather, my father, and I want to carry it forward. And I want my kids to have that. It's it's such an honor. And I can remember the day, the situation, the scenery in my head of the day I decided to come in the business. I was planning on being a lawyer at the time, and then I was like, I just want to run a business, and everything just kind of, the cogs just like went in, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I ended up going back to law school anyway, but I've never quit being a car dealer. And we're when we do things the way we do things, the driving force, when I talk about best interest of Hooks Lincoln, well, that's lasting. We're already getting into our fourth generation of of the Hooks family being in the car, in the automobile industry. That's what lasts, is building relationships, doing things differently, leaving a mark, leaving an impression, taking care of somebody. And it's I don't want people to feel like they're in a situation where, oh no, I don't know what to do, I can't trust anybody in this, with this or whatever. I want them to know, oh, I can call Hooks, I can call Kip, I can call anybody there, my guy, my girl, my person, and they're going to take care of me because they've showed me that they're going to do it before. They listen to me and they show me they're going to take care of me. And I just can't imagine doing it any other way. Uh, those relationships matter. People
Mm,
matter. And they're all doing business, and everybody, I mean, most everybody has a car, and it's something everybody goes through. I want it to be as the best it can be. And because I want it to be here, and I want them to come here. I want people to come here to buy cars and service their cars, because I want to take care of them, and I want to earn that right. Nothing's given. I wasn't given this role. I was given an opportunity. I earned the rest of it, just
mm.
like my kids will if that's what they decide to do, just like every other generation has done.
Mhm.
I don't want anything handed to me except for an opportunity, and I've taken the opportunity and try to make it better. I'm not just going to advance the ball. I'm going to try to make it better, and just like generation after me will. So, you know, uh, it's about relationships, not transactions. It's about people. We do sell and service cars, and we love Lincoln. We love vehicles, and it's a fun business, but it's a people business, and that's what makes it fun, is because of the people and getting to meet people, talk to people, deal with people. That's what keeps it fun and exciting and unique. So that's why we do things differently.
I love what it's rooted in. I think people will greatly appreciate knowing that part of you that don't. Obviously, all your customers already know that. That's why you have all these wonderful relationships. For the audience listening and or watching, thanks for riding along with us on episode 1. If you enjoyed it, hey, do us a favor, leave us a review, tell a friend, or stop by and say hello in person at Hooks Lincoln in Fort Worth, Texas. You couldn't find really a better city in America than Fort Worth, Texas. So you might even get a tail wag from Piper if you happen to stop in. Until next time, keep driving forward, stay kind, and remember, at Hooks Lincoln, we don't just sell cars. We build relationships that last for generations. See you next time.
See ya.